Hello everyone and welcome to Total War Arena Academy Part 3, where we'll be covering the unit swords and its strengths and weaknesses. When playing swords, I recommend the commander, Germanicus. Their strengths are, most come as medium to heavy infantry, granting them a high armor value, as well as the ability to soak up more missile fire than most other units. They also perform well once in combat and have a large variety of units with many different abilities. And they have the mighty pilums, a short range attack but a devastating one that can be used a limited amount of times by using the Alt key. Their weaknesses are, many swords are heavy infantry, which are quite slow, which can lead you to being kited to death. Their slow speed also makes them ideal targets for enemy artillery. While they can survive for a long time against archer fire, javeliniers can devastate your swords. Lastly, they are also not as strong versus cavalry as spears. Now here are a few things to keep in mind when playing sword infantry. When playing swords, always remember to use your pilums by holding the Alt key. One way of using pilums is to use them against ranged units. As you can see in this video, the archers are simply too far away for me to reach, so I use my pilums to weaken them as they retreat. Here's another example of using pilums against ranged units. As you can see, my charge just ran short of the enemy javelineers, so I use pilums to do some damage. Using pilums in this way gives you a decent range attack against enemy ranged units. It can also be used to get some revenge after being charged by cavalry. Cavalry will usually retreat after the charge, so quickly ready your pilums as they retreat, getting some good damage into their backs. Or they can simply be used to weaken a unit before an engagement, to give you the advantage. For Germanicus players and other commanders with charge, here's a helpful tip you can use when it comes to dealing with catapults and ballistas. Artillery will often retreat and outrun you once you approach, but that's okay, as they will have to leave their siege engines behind. Once they retreat, simply charge their artillery equipment, leaving them no firepower to return to. Now remember, because medium and heavy swords are somewhat slow, it's best to take the enemy by surprise and to cut off their retreat, as most units will simply pull back if they feel you are a threat. This can be done by pushing quickly in the hopes that you can come around the side of the enemy by surprise, as you can see here. Or you can try using the terrain, such as grass areas, which not only hide your unit, but also don't supply a debuff to your medium or heavy infantry, like forests do. And remember, Germanicus players, when you have Vengeance running, it will keep running until you're out of combat for 5 seconds, so your sword infantry will really shine in long engagements. Here's another example of using the terrain to your advantage. As you can see, javelins and spears are approaching my units, but I'm not in a good position to take on javelins, so I retreat behind these buildings, with one unit on each side, to keep vision in case the javelins decide to come around to flank me. I then ready a unit for a charge and pilum throws on the javelin unit. But as you will soon see, I run into a light spear unit, which stands no chance against the heavier swords. Seeing that the javelins are retreating from my ally, I push one unit through to cut them off, and get them with a devastating charge. As they're about to disengage from my sword unit, I ready another sword unit for a pilum throw, reducing their health even further. As you can see, by using the terrain, you can nullify some of the sword's weaknesses. This brings us to the end of Total War Arena Academy Part 3. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. Join me next time, where we cover light spears. Until then, happy gaming.